Hi, y'all. It's JC again from Martins Ferry, Idaho, with Tips and Coffee. Just thought I would say hello, see how you guys are doing. I'm on my drive back from Sandpoint. Had treatment today. I could drive all the way back to Idaho. To Bonners from Sandpoint. You know how it is. Been a long day. It's almost 5 o'clock. And I've been in town since, 10:30 this morning. I had 3 different appointments, which is a little bit of a bother, but not too bad. And of course it's rush hour right now, so maybe I can get through this light before it turns green. Probably not. Probably just best to wait. I'm not in that big of a hurry anyway. I know most people are in a hurry all the time. I'm not one of those people that think you gotta hurry everywhere. You take your time, enjoy life, smell the roses, drink your coffee. I would have a coffee today, but I haven't had a chance to go to the coffee house today since I left home this morning. Of course, then I went to my favorite coffee house, which was very nice. Got a coffee on my way down, but I was also helping. Oh Lord, see, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody's honking and in a hurry. I didn't see what happened over there. I didn't see anybody almost hit anybody or anything stupid like that, so I'm assuming nobody actually did. But people are always in a hurry. I'm thinking more people need to learn to slow down, smell the coffee, pay attention. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Everybody thinks they do, but they really don't. More often than not, I have no idea what's going on. I just got what I gotta do doing, and that's what I do. And especially as older folks, we just kind of done the same stuff all our lives. It's what we know, so that's what we do. And we try not to, I hope most people do anyway, not to get into other people's business. It's not really ours. I know a lot of people don't care. They get into people's business all the time, or they think their business is theirs. Their kids, their friends. Unless somebody tells you, not your business. I keep telling my sister that because she's always telling me, oh, I heard about this and this and this. I was like, yeah, but you don't know anything because you just heard it. And you heard it from not the person who supposedly would actually know. And, so, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. And yet, we all somehow still get caught up in it, even if we didn't know or say or do anything. Unfortunately, life is that way, and we all just try to do our best. The thing is, the hardest group of people to deal with is family. And so many families have just given up. And it's so easy because your kids grow up, they move out. Well, people expect them to move out. When my family's not like that. We actually hope that the family's going to stay at least reasonably close. We don't like the idea of our family being all spread out, and what if somebody needs you, who you're going to lean on, because your family should be the place where you have the most friends. Oh yeah, you have siblings, you grow up, you argue, you fight. That's normal stuff. That's kid stuff. I know we're all still in high school, we're old, but it's different. Your family is supposed to be people you can rely on, but you also have family that's not blood related. I have a lot of family that's not blood related. Not as much anymore because as you get older, your friends die off or whatever. But until my friends started dying off a few years ago, I had like 5 friends that were not actual family. But they were close enough to family that it didn't matter. And I don't know about your house, but nobody ever calls before they come over. And that's fine. And if they don't knock on the door, most of the time the dogs only bark a little bit. They don't go off like, half the planet just blew up. So, and most people who know us just come in. That's the way we are. I know a lot of people aren't like that. I know most of you lock your doors, would never leave the keys in your car. We come from different times. We come from different eras. We come from different areas. I understand that. I, however, personally never want to have to do any of those things. When I have to make sure, well, first off, it doesn't do any good. Let's be honest. You lock your house and you're not home, somebody wants in, they're getting in. Oh, maybe somebody will call the cops. Maybe your alarm system's going to go off, but they're still getting in. You know what I mean? They're going to break something. They're still getting in. Your car is the same way. They really want your car. They're going to get your car, whether your keys are in it or it's unlocked or any of that nonsense. You see, that stuff only keeps honest people honest. And that's true, and everybody knows that's true. And if they're really trying to steal from you, they don't really care if the neighbor sees them. They just don't. It takes a certain amount of time for the police to get there, and if they're gone by then, or they outrun them, they're good. And with all the things going on in the country right now, burglary is not a top priority for the police. Should be, but it's not. Of course, it shouldn't be a thing, because I know we was all raised knowing it's not right to take things that don't belong to you. I also, when I was a kid, grew up in an area where you parked your car out by the field and you might come out back there and your car would be gone. Here's the thing, your car wasn't stolen. Someone needed your car for a minute. Don't worry. In the back of their truck, they carry gas and they will put gas in your rig. They all did it. Out in the wheat fields up in Prosser, Washington. You left your truck on the side of the road. You might come back and your vehicle will be gone. But don't worry, it'll be back in a little while or somebody else's rig would be there. And you knew whose rig it was and it was fine. At the end of the day, you might have to call each other and say, hey, I got your car. It happened. Actually, a lot more often than people thought. And I always thought that was kind of cool. Of course, it would also be kind of annoying if you lived in town and you needed your car to go pick up your kids and your neighbor borrowed your car. But I assume that if your neighbor was going to borrow your car in town, they would let you know in advance. And that's another thing. People don't lend out stuff like that anymore. And there's probably a good reason for it. But it is what it is. But I always tell my kids that if anything ever makes me feel like I have to lock my doors or take my keys out of my car, and I've been a lot of places even in the last few years. I even went to Vegas and my car was fine. Heck, I left the window down too because it gets hot. Really hot down there. And when you get in the car and it doesn't feel that hot, you open your car door, it feels like you open the oven. It's nice when the window's down so you don't get that blast in your face. But at any rate, told them if I ever got to that point, you'd have to realize that there's something really seriously wrong with the world. And I know that the world has its issues, but I hope it's not really coming as much as people think. I hope that, oh, did you lock the door thing? Is the windows closed? Did you remember to pull the keys out of the car thing? Is a learned behavior. It's like when we were kids, we all played outside, played in the water, rode our bikes around. Now parents don't let them go outside hardly. And yards, and that's where their kids are. They're not at the neighbors. They might not even know the kids 3 doors down unless they ride the bus together. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad. Because we knew the whole neighborhood, you know. Was it 6-block radius or something like that? However far you could hear your mama's voice. That's how far away you were. And you knew you better be home before it got dark. And that's the way it was. But times are very different now. And that's okay. I guess change isn't the worst thing. But it's not the best either. And some of us are old. It's hard to change. And some of you are young and don't feel like you have any way of changing things. Seems like somewhere in between, things got changed and there's nothing either one of us can do about it. But it's really not true. We do have a choice. It may be a hard way to do things. It may take longer than you want to get the things you want to get done, but you will. So, you know what they say, everything seems impossible until it's done. That's kind of the way life is. It seems impossible until it's done. But I'm going to hope y'all have a long life. I think I probably will. My mom is, you know, older lady in her late 70s. And I know she's going to be around for a while. She's healthy as a horse. Runs circles around me. Of course, the chemo didn't help me a lot, but that's okay because it did in a way. Because it made me realize that I was stronger than I thought, and it actually gave me the courage to start coming on and doing videos. I was going to do a live, then I realized I'm driving, my internet's not great in a few spots. There's a few spots when you live in the mountains. Doesn't matter what company you have, how good your service is, unless you're using direct satellite, which I'm pretty sure I have, but they charge you extra for if you actually use it. You're gonna lose service. And that's okay too. But it's not okay on a live. Because you can't see if somebody's talking to you or anything, and then they think you ignored them, which of course you did not. And I'm starting to try and do them because I'm trying to get some feedback on what people really want to hear me talk about life, business, and family, you know, lifestyles. As a lot of you know, I have land down in Nevada that I can't get to right now because I have to stay up here and do stuff. But I do have a craft show this weekend. That's on April the 11th and 12th at the fairgrounds in Bonners Ferry. So if you live close by and you want to come out and meet, it's a great time to meet up and get some good gifts while you're there. Like I said, I'm not going to be the only vendor there. My friend Shirley's going to be there. She's awesome. She does nail jewelry from Color Street. She also makes jewelry from the Color Street, which is awesome and super creative. I really like it. And then, of course, as some of you may know, my mom's truck was down, and I'm using hers because mine needs a water pump now. We got some Blue Devil put in it to take care of the head issue. And then the water pump went out, but mom's truck needed a starter. So my brother Ed ordered the part from AutoZone, which is where he works. And he got this really nice mobile mechanic named Jay to come out. He's from Bonners Ferry. Nice young kid. Super polite. He was a little late, but he got there, got the job done. He actually had to take the cart back because it was the wrong one and get the right one, and he didn't change what he charged us. So that was nice, even though he had to drive back in and switch up the part. Well, that wasn't his fault, but I guess it wasn't really his fault either. But at any rate, it got done, and I was pretty happy about it. So, hey, you know, try to stay local when you're in your area, because you can help people out in your area, and community is a good thing. I'm a firm believer you gotta have a community where you live. You don't stand behind your local businesses and the community there, then your business isn't going to go nowhere anyway. Because every business depends on other people's businesses, and you know, it wouldn't be much of a craft show if I was the only one there. So I'm so glad there's going to be a lot of other people there. It's kind of like grocery stores and gas stations. I know towns that only have one, and they're like community centers almost. Everybody goes there, and people meet up with people they haven't seen all week. You know what I mean? Community is important, and I think a lot of people forget about that. You got to be a little bit social. You have to get out in your community. You got to hang out. You know what I mean? Do something. Have a cup of coffee with someone you like, that you work with, or that you met somewhere. Doesn't have to be romantic. Don't even go there. I hang out with a lot of new people that I just met, and a bunch of ladies and I get together once in a while and go have coffee after putting up flyers and banners and doing stuff like that. So that's always fun. And, you know, of course I like coffee. That's why I keep bringing it up. I really need another cup of coffee, but I gotta get home first. And I'm only about halfway there, so, well, about halfway to Bonners anyway. Not halfway home. I still got another 12 miles once I hit Bonners to get home. Something like that. So, at any rate, you know, a lot of people forget that life can be whatever you want to make it. It's hard because, you know, we can always say, well, I don't have money. That makes it impossible. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's not true. We all know it's not true. It's a little more work. It's a whole lot more effort. And the hardest part is doing something that's hard. Like I told people before, I started my Two Sisters house cleaning business while the kids and us lived in a car. Didn't have any money. We didn't have nowhere to live. And necessity. I wrote on a piece of papers. I went into neighborhoods what looked like they could afford to pay someone to clean their house. And I knocked on doors. A lot of times there was nobody home. And I would just leave little pieces of paper on their door, or hand them one if they answered the door and talked to me. And most of them said no. But a few of them called me back later. They changed their mind. Their spouse saw it or something. Like, hey, this is a good idea. Think of the time we could spend. We could go have some coffee, or we could go out for dinner, or, you know, we could just kick back and relax when we get home instead of worrying about it. It's not like the house is messy. You only need to straighten up once a week. That's not very often, you know what I mean? So, and most of them were a once a week job, but that was okay. The pay wasn't terrible. It was enough to get by on it first. Then we started getting busy. Then my husband got sick. have time to run the business and take care of him, and life gets messy, and that's just the way things are. Sometimes things just get messy. You don't have a way to deal with it. I wasn't educated enough at the time to know that I could have hired a manager. I could have hired somebody to run the business. I wasn't aware of that. I just thought, oh, well, one of the family members would take it over, even though none of them were really ready. So I didn't actually pass it down. I ended up handing it to somebody who couldn't handle the job, and before I knew it, within 3 months, it was out of business because they didn't know how to do what I did. They could clean okay, but they didn't know how to do what I did, and they didn't have the tenacity to do it. If you're to be a business owner, to be an actual business owner, I mean, we had employees, and not all of them were full-time because I didn't need people all the time. So I had people who needed temporary work that I could call off a list and get someone to come in and help me when I needed help. Because when you're a small business, you can't afford it. But here's the thing, you don't own a business if you don't have some employees. You're going to be paying somebody for something, or it's not a small business. And there is nothing wrong with owning your own job. When I first started off, I owned my job. Technically, I owned my job. I only had a couple part-time helpers that I paid, which, by the way, was a nightmare when I needed to do something about it, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what it was called when somebody doesn't work for you. I didn't know they were contractors, private contractors, that they were responsible for their own stuff. They either reported or they didn't. It was not my business. I had to report what I paid, but they didn't have to necessarily report what they paid. So, and the truth is, they're the only ones losing out because they were paid. You know what I mean? So, and I didn't know how to do that properly, which was a nightmare. I almost got in trouble for that. But, luckily, I know it sounds so dumb. Luckily, at the end, I lost more money than I earned. And because of that, when my business was out of business, it was just an even loss. It wasn't, you owe money, they're not giving me any money. It was just an even loss, which is the best you can hope for, because owning a business is risk. And if your risk tolerance isn't really high, you are not going to be a very good business owner. You have to be able to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I just spent all the rent money or whatever on this to make sure this job gets done. You actually have to mean it. You can't half-heart it. You can't go, oh, well, I'm just going to put in this much even though it's not enough. So, you know, it just doesn't work that way. To actually be a business owner is quite risky. You got to be okay with risk. And a lot of people have families, and they're like, oh, I can't do that. My family would never understand. And it depends on your family. Your family might not understand. Because like I said, not everybody has the type family I have. To be honest, there's no reason there's not more entrepreneurs in my family. We back each other up for the most part. If somebody needed a place to stay, they'd have somebody to catch them. They would never starve now. And after their rough start, when the kids were little, and all the scraping and the trying to get by and the camping out and keeping everybody safe thing, you would think they would learn to be a lot closer and be more supportive. And I would think maybe, I would never hope that on anybody's family. I would hope that somebody's family had it just rough enough that they understand that they can count on their family and that their family was actually there. Because here's the other thing. My mom doesn't have to worry. She knows what's going to happen when she can't take care of herself. She's not even a little worried about it. And because she doesn't have to worry about it, I think she's a whole lot more outgoing and gets up and does more stuff than a lot of old people. Because a lot of old people are afraid they're going to fall or whatever. They're afraid to get out and try stuff. A lot of them are that age, don't go hiking in the woods or whatever. My mom still does because she, I don't know how she expects it, but somehow she expects if she falls in the woods, somebody's going to pick her up, throw her over her shoulder, and walk out. That's not going to happen. But she knows we'll take care of it still. But yeah, no, it won't be that easy. But she does know that we will be there to take care of her. And every member of our family should know that. You know what I mean? And it's not always easy to say that. And trust me, there are people in my family I could just strangle about half the time. And that's okay. That's normal life. So, if you have the risk tolerance to be your own boss, a business owner, start a career, help others make money, then you're on the right track. And my business is small. And when I say small, I don't mean, oh, we only have $1 million. I mean, we're small. We don't have $100,000. And that's okay. Because most people don't start out with a bunch of money. Ever. And they give up. Oh, I'm never going to be. Maybe you won't never be a millionaire. But that doesn't mean you can't be independent. It doesn't mean you can't make enough money. It just means that you may not qualify for the name small business, even though you're a small business. I don't know where they get a small business is $1 million. Because $1 million sounds like a lot of money to me. I'm aware it's not that much money. I'm aware nowadays it will barely buy a house in most areas. But it's still a considerable amount of money. And, you know, if you're thinking, oh, you're not big enough, my business is bigger than yours, that's okay too. It doesn't mean we still can't learn from each other. In fact, one of these days, I'd love to talk to some other people that have small businesses that started out the hard way. They didn't borrow money. They don't use a bunch of credit cards they can't afford. See, that's another thing I believe in. I believe if you got credit cards, get rid of them. Pay them off, get rid of them. If you can't get by, you're going to have to figure it out. Because those credit cards are going to weigh you down in the long run. Yeah. So, I guess I will let you go. And we will talk next time. And hopefully, a few of you will give me some ideas about what it is you'd like to hear me talk about. And remember, I also am on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and pretty much everywhere at Tips and Coffee. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, just say hi, say I hate you, I don't like the way you look, I don't care. Something. Y'all have a great day.